Welcome to The Life of Hair. My name's James Atkinson. Thank you for choosing to join into this episode. Now, in this episode, we are going to follow the lashing hairstylist as she tackles black hair. I can't see the girl's face. I think she's Asian. I haven't watched it all the way through. I like to sort of watch these things mostly with you guys. And she is going to be putting in baby lights onto black, dark brown hair, bleach washing and colour melting this hair, and I've seen the end result because I always see what happened at the beginning, went to the end, and the end result's pretty good actually. I really quite a good end result. There's some questionable processes in the middle though, so anyway, make sure you hang around for those and I'll give you some of my thoughts and feelings on that. But if you enjoy this type of content, then please hit the thumbs up button, subscribe if you haven't yet, and I'll see you in the next one.
So what she used to have is a bleach and tone, and then the most recent time that I touched up her hair was with baby lights, and then now the top is pretty much grown out, so we're just gonna touch up the roots. And I'm also going to...
So one thing just before she goes into it, you can actually see there's some breakage here in this zone there. And there is, you see bits of breakage throughout. That's just something to remember for a bit later that we'll talk about as we go through this particular technique.
Bleach wash the end so it gets a little bit lighter. So the way I like to section it is, do you part your hair right here most of the time? Okay, cool. So since she parts her hair down the middle, I like to take a square of that first. So since she usually parts her hair right down the middle here, I would first take my first section like this. So probably about like 1.5 inches from her parting right here, and then 1.5 inches over here. And then clip that up.
On her behalf and mine, I have to apologise for the music. The music, I can't get rid of the music, sorry, it's on her video. It's driving me mad, but anyway, we're going to have to go. But just quickly, while I've paused it, taking a parting that is incorporating their parting is a smart move, because obviously that's where they're going to see the colour most of the time, in their parting. So it's definitely worth thinking about that as a thing, when you're pre-sectioning your colours, and if you want all of the detail in that area, or the area where they're going to see, and you're going to pour the most energy into that, that's never a bad idea. That's not, yes, do a great job everywhere else, but the bit that they're going to see has got to be bang on, hasn't it? Let's be real.
Hold the hair tight, and then for the baby lights, what I do is weave an extra fine section, because you want everything to blend. And with her hair, she likes her balayage super heavy and super light, so I'll probably be doing a lot of back-to-back foils. So put that against the scalp, take your bleach.
Okay, this is not a balayage. This is not a balayage. It will look like a balayage at the end, but it's not a balayage. Balayage is sweeping colour onto hair. You cannot balayage level 3 hair to a level 10. It is not possible. Just don't even consider it. This is a foiling technique. The reason it's a foiling technique is because they want maximum amount of lift onto her hair. End of story. So do not be confused by this being a balayage. It's not.
And run it down. And then you just kind of feather it up a little bit. Move that to the side and then fold it. And then what I like to do is fold the corner just so it secures the hair so the foil does not move. So that is your first section. Okay, so on to the next section. So you're just gonna do the same thing, part the hair in a diagonal form, and then do the thin baby lights again. So since her hair is naturally level 2, she has black Asian hair, and When lifting, there will be a little bit of yellow tone, but I'm going to let her sit and process as long as possible until she gets to maybe like a level 9 or so, because this bleach can take it up to level 9. And then once that is processed, I like to do like a shadow melt. So the top part's going to be a darker formulation, and then for the bottom, it's going to be lighter, which this part's going to be a lot lighter when I do bleach wash it.
Okay. Now, before she does this section, and she was saying that, you know, she's going to leave it on as long as possible. Ultimately, you should only leave it on for as long as the manufacturer recommends. If you leave it on for as long as possible, you could end up with some pretty serious damage to the hair. But she is doing something in each of her foils that is hindering her potential lift anyway. So we're going to watch her do one more. If you can spot it, leave it in the comment section, and then I'll tell you what it is in a sec.
So take your section, weave it out as thin as possible. And then you see how I'm painting like this. I like to get the bleach on first, and then after that, I take the brush vertically to make sure I get all the hair saturated that's in the foil. And then blend it down to here, stop, and then take my comb. And if you do have previously bleached hair, just push it to the side and then fold the foil up. And then do the same that you did earlier, fold the sides. So now...
Okay. Do you know what it is? Well, the first thing is, she said make the weave as fine as possible. That was not a fine weave. That was like a medium stitch. I mean, fine is paper thin, right? So that's the first thing. The thickness of your sections will determine how well or not well your hair lifts. That application was heavy, and then she does a very good job of moving the hair around to get good saturation through that section, but she's doing that because it's very thick. And the second thing is, and the most important thing of all, is that she is not getting anywhere near enough bleach into that section. You can still see the majority of the hair through the section. That is never going to lift well. It's just not got enough power from the lightener in there. So you've got to saturate inside that packet to make sure you maximize the lifting potential of that product within the manufacturer's recommended guidelines.
I'm just going to continue all the way until I get to a certain area, and then I'll let you guys know when to stop. So now that we're at the top, you have one small little corner left right there. So I like to just leave that out until later. And then what you're gonna do is flip her to the other side and start doing the other side in diagonal partings the same way, and then stop when you get to that little triangle. So I just finished using my 20 volume developer bleach, and also since I'm not using heat today, I'm gonna bump up the bleach to the next volume for 30. So just turn on your weighing scale, put 30 grams of bleach powder in your bowl, and then use your 30 volume developer up to 120.
Okay, before she starts, she did 30 grams, and then she did 120 grams of peroxide. That is 1 part bleach to 4 parts peroxide. That is going to be some incredibly weak bleach. I mean, incredibly weak. She's going to have to leave that on there for hours to have any hope. I mean, she's bumped up to 30 volt, of course, because the more peroxide that you put into the bowl, the weaker the powder becomes, and the power is in the powder. The powder is the alkaline part. The peroxide is acid. she is making that so weak, and it's just going to be absolutely, well, bleed city if you're not careful as well, because when it's that runny, you know, and it's the viscosity. I've used that bleach loads of times, and it doesn't go hard. It doesn't need that mixing ratio. You know, maximum she should have put probably 60 mils of peroxide into that powder, but she didn't need to do that, and nowhere on the manufacturer's guidelines would it recommend a 4-to-1 ratio.
Now that you're at the top and you have the two triangles, just combine them together and you'll have one huge triangle. And I like to save this part for last. Now that we're to the side of the head, what I like to do is take it in diagonal partings, going this way, starting from the sideburn. You always want to get the sideburn because a lot of people miss that. So
okay, I do that. I leave that triangle section at the crown. I'm not sure why you'd leave it till last. That doesn't really make sense to me in my mind. It's, if you need to wash the whole back out, for example, then you've got this triangle of hair that you did last, or whenever she's going to do that triangle of hair, that's then in a completely different time zone to the sides and the back. I don't know. That doesn't make sense to me. Just do that triangle section. If you do this technique, just do that triangle section and let it process, and then you can just take the whole back out at that clean line that you've cut from the back of the ear all the way across the top. I mean, look, I'm not here to say anything's right or wrong, but from the perspective of being able to remove the colour in quadrants, accordance to the timings of, you know, it being ready, and also finding, you know, you could end up washing out one bright orange section because you forgot that triangle, you know, there's just lots of reasons probably not to do that.
just go ahead and section this out first. And then also fold that in a triangle just so the hair doesn't slip. Because there's so little hair here, you definitely want to fold it.
Now, I don't fall like that, and I don't think there's anything wrong with falling like that at all. That diagonal fold across there, that's quite interesting, you know, to secure their hair from slipping. So obviously there's hair in that foil further down, so it's like trapping the hair in that diagonal backwards fold. Interesting.
I just want you guys to make sure to never leave out the sideburns again, because those are very important. Even though it's just like 3, 4, 5 strands, like a little bit of strands of hair, these still need to be lightened. And so you just continue to do diagonal partings until you get to around this area. And so since this client does have baby hairs, you want to take 3 packets down this way.
Okay, that hair that she's pointing out is broken. It's snapped off. Now, it's very weak hair anyway. It doesn't get very long, generally speaking. It's just by the nature of that particular fine hair. But to foil that hair, you are asking for a world of trouble. You are asking for broken hairlines and all sorts of things. There's quite a lot when you see the sections that she takes, like in this. Areas, especially where it's blonde, are a little bit broken. I mean, that is, you know, you're taking the hair to its absolute limit. You're going from like 2 to 10 in this particular instance. So, you know, of course, you're going to experience maybe some breakage. But any overlapping or anything like that, or any hairline that you bleach up and leave on for a long time, ultimately is going to break off pretty quickly. I mean, those baby hairs around the front there don't have any blonde on them. So if she coloured them last time, they've snapped off in between appointments and she's just going to colour them again. Sometimes you have to have very frank and honest conversations with your clients and explain that, that is just the nature of their hair. And if they want to bleach those pieces, that yes, they can, but they're going to break off. And do they want that? She may have had this conversation with this client, but it's just important for you to know that those hairlines are very, very weak. And I just avoid them generally. It doesn't look worse. It just, they're generally covered by their hair anyway.
So from this section right here, now that you did all your diagonal sections and you already went and finished half of the section off, go ahead and start going this way, 3 packets to do the baby hairs, and then continue on. Now that we're at the front section, I want to show you guys how I do this. So how I like to do it is maybe like 3 or 4 back-to-back falls in the front, because I always want the facial framing to pop the most. So since she has baby hair in the front right there, I probably will be doing 4 back-to-backs.
Okay, so she's just going to work straight through the parting. Now, that's fine to work through the parting like that in that vertical way. But remember, when you work through the parting vertically like that and then you split that hair, all of those vertical sections are then stripes that run down the head. So that's something to remember. If you get stripy highlight results, it could be because you're doing vertical sections straight through the parting. She still hasn't tackled that crown area, which is effectively the back. And can be some of the hardest to lift areas on the head, because if you ever do a test on someone's hair and you use a swatch, a level finder that's got all the shades on it, and you put it against their hair, the top of the head's always the lightest because it's got the sun on it, and then the underneath of their hair at this crown area is usually, and everything below it is usually the darkest. So that's another reason to start in the back. But to leave that crown area out till last is going to delay this entire process, because that is going to take a while to lift now.
Bleach wash it in the shampoo bowl, but since I'm showing you guys, I'm just going to take each section and beat this on wet hair. I'm going to only leave this on for a couple minutes and then have her rinse it out.
So she's bleach washing the hair to remove the old toner. Not exactly sure why she's doing that. She's just adding damage to the hair, because obviously it's already very bleached, and we could see some light breakage through there as she was going through that technique anyway. So doing this is only going to increase the potential for it to break in the future. It's difficult because obviously it's very, very tonally grey, and that can be very hard to keep that greyness, and of course then you kind of feel like you want to remove the toner. I think it's a bit purple shampooed as well, or kind of some blue shampoo going in there, because it's a little bit sort of patchy and darker towards the ends where it's obviously grabbed a bit harder. But look, we'll see the results in a minute. This is just dangerous. That's what I'm pointing at, is that this can go really wrong. And she's only going to leave it on for a couple of minutes, but you just have to be really aware that if you're going to strip out a toner on hair that's this bleached, you are dicing with death of their hair, obviously, not death of them.
And then we're going to apply the toner. So I'm just stripping out any old color she had in her hair and just lightening up just a tad bit more. We washed off the bleach wash that we just did. So for the top of her roots, I'm going to go ahead and use the 8 ash and the 8 pearl that I've mixed together.
So by dropping it down to a level 8, and it looks to have lifted pretty well, so she's obviously left it on a long time because she used a 4:1 ratio. She didn't saturate that highly. It has lifted, so that means that it's been on an incredibly long time to get it to lift that well. She's dropping it down to a level 8. She's using an ash pearl concoction in there. So those stripy, highlights where you foil through the parting become less stripy, because as you reduce the contrast comparative to the root area, it becomes less of a problem. to do kind of chunkier techniques. So that's why a lot of balayage techniques are very heavy, because you're going to maybe tone them down at the root area and it's not going to seem so apparent, you know. So that's something to bear in mind. Let's see how she pops this toner on.
Again, usually I would do this in the shampoo bowl, but since I'm recording and showing you guys, I'm going to be putting it in a squeeze tube and doing it this way. So I'm just putting it on the first 4 inches of her hair. After you're done applying the 4 inches of the root area, what I like to do is kind of blend it down a little bit before I add on the 9 Pearl shade onto the bottom.
So she's saying that she would normally just throw it on all over and comb it through. I'm sure that has its quirks, you know. That can be quite haphazard. This is probably a much better way of doing it this way, because she's actually controlling the sections and she's hand blending it. This will probably turn out better than her normal results. And if you are doing things at the backwash, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, because a lot of salons do it, it's just that you can't control the results as well, because you can't get to the hair, even if you get them to sit up, you know, and I just recommend that you get them back to the chair. She goes through this quickly and she saturates it really nicely. So let's see the end result of her applying.
I'm going to let this process for 15 minutes, and in 15 minutes you'll see that everything is going to develop.
So here's the finished result. Really, really nice end result there. There's lots of processes that she went through that maybe were a little bit overkill or slightly unnecessary, like the bleach powder thing. She could have just done a lower ratio and got a quicker result. You know, the whole blonde wash in the end. Yes, it did clean it out, but you are risking breakage, the highlighting the hairline. Of course, that's probably what that client wanted. But then she did go and root stretch the first 4 inches, so she would have clearly gone over that section. So she's only going to have a level 8 highlight in that front section. I don't know if that's really going to be of any benefit to her, especially as there is quite a lot of the natural dark in there. So it's not like she's doing a complete scalp bleach and then leaving out this dark hairline. If you're doing back-to-back foils and then you've got this dark hairline, that could look a bit strange, but it doesn't make sense in this instance. Let's see if we can see the front, because I've only ever actually seen this from the back.
So I had to take her outside because it was getting very late, but I just want to show you guys her blend. Super beautiful baby lights. How's the color look? Let me know if you guys try this technique, and tag me in the photos at the Lashing Hairstylist on Instagram.
Well, she doesn't see the front, so if you do this technique and it works well and you followed this tutorial, then please do go to the Lashing Hairstylist on Instagram, or go and subscribe to the Lashing Hairstylist, link down in the description below. Thank you very much to the Lashing Hairstylist for your YouTube videos. And remember, guys, we can always level up. No matter how good we are, how good we think we are, we can always level up. We can always change our processes to make ourselves more time efficient and more effective hairdressers. Thanks very much for watching this one. Hope you enjoy it. See you in the next one.